Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Hit or Die podcast with your hosts, Jake Saldati and Chad Rothford. We have a Clovis Cougar Hall of Famer. You in the Hall of Fame yet over there? You should be. You should have been in the first class.
Me and Gardner were in the first class.
First class?
Yeah.
Mike Bumatay, thanks for joining the show.
You got it. Thanks for having me, guys.
If you don't know, the dynasty started with your class, is that 95 team,
Right.
all the way, and you graduated in 98. That dynasty was huge. Then you got drafted in the 21st round by the Pirates, played 10 years professionally, got to AAA with 3 clubs.
Yeah.
And, had great numbers. Your minor league numbers were really good, just never got there, which is add to the list. A lot of us never get there and have our stories. But, it's good to have you, and this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was telling you on the way here, like, so growing up, everybody knew who the guys were, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever year it was. And I just remember my brother. My brother went to Fresno Christian, and I think he'd already graduated, but it might have been your 98 season. It's like, hey, we're going to this game. I got to take you to this game. And you pitched.
Right.
I was probably in 7th or 8th grade, and I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, there was nowhere to stand. I don't know if it was a Valley title. I don't remember. I just remember
probably a Bullard Clovis
we're going to go watch this guy pitch, and your last name's pretty easy to remember.
Yeah, you really can't forget it. There's not many of them.
So
yeah, that's true.
I just remember being on that first base side, and like it was just people all the way around the stadium. And you won. It might have been a shutout actually. And Clovis at that time pretty much won everything.
Yeah, and that was back when there were rivalries, and every game was packed, and it didn't matter if we were playing Hoover, McLean, and back then all those, McLean had Marquise Roberts, Hoover had studs, even Roosevelt had a couple guys, and it was always, you knew you come to Clovis, it's going to be a good game, and everybody wanted to beat us, obviously, because you beat us, you're going to talk about that for the next 20 years, and so it's, but games like that were fun, because there was always people in the stands, there was always a little shit talking, which brought another aspect to it.
Which is completely frowned upon now.
But I think that's where you became better.
Yeah.
Is when you were getting shit talked.
Yeah. And
I think another side of you came out, and it was the side not to.
Well, some guys feed off of that kind of stuff.
That was him.
That fueled me.
That was this guy.
And I loved it because I knew it was only a matter of time for I'm going to get you. Because I knew, and athletes always think they're better than the next guy, right? And you kind of look at them and you're like, well, there's only a matter of time for I'm going to get you, or I'm going to see something that I'm going to see one of your weaknesses, or I'm going to see something that I know I can exploit. So it was, like I said, that fueled me for sure.
Well, that 98 team, so 97, it started in 95, right? We'll go there.
95.
95 breaks through for James. I was like, Hannah was on that team, Kevin Patrick. I don't know the rundown.
Well, you would have been a freshman?
You were freshman or sophomore?
I was a freshman, when they
95?
won the first time, And that was Hoskins, that was Henry Casares, Jimmy Smith, Josh Reese, Goose, of course. Goose played 4 years varsity. They were loaded. Casey Wallace, Hannah, Jeff Munster. Yeah, they were good.
And then 96, we as you walked in, made sure to. We're that 20 years later still talking about it.
Of course.
The Coyotes.
Rub that one in,
Beat love to anytime. But yeah, that's what we were. And then 97, 98, you guys go back to back.
Right.
And like for high school baseball, the only other team that had sniffed that kind of success was Bullard, really, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what was that like, just those 2 years, especially being young, seeing it in 95, and then I think you guys went 33-2 both seasons.
Yeah. And you know what? We shouldn't have lost those 4 games. We could have been 70-0 real easily. I think we lost to Buchanan, I think. It might have been all 4 of those games, I think, might have been Buchanan.
That was one of my questions. Who are the 2 losses against?
And don't quote me on that because, the Buchanan guys listening are probably, jumping up and down right now, especially Kemp. And Kemp was a Clovis High guy, so. But, yeah, those years were, growing up, going to Clovis High camps and stuff like that, you felt that, with Chad's dad, in his Giants uniform, and you got all these pro guys, Gardner, and all these pro guys doing the camp, and you felt like, man, this place is something special. And you grew up watching it, always on the sidelines. You might have been messing around, hitting in the cages or whatever, but you always would go down and watch 3 or 4 innings, and it was just something about that place that just, it felt special, man. You want to be a part of it. And then as you grow older, we got lucky. We played, the guys that I graduated with, we played together since we were like 10 years old. So it helped out a lot, knowing what each guy can do, where he's going to be, how strong his arm was, all that kind of stuff. And, knowing the guys for 10 plus years or whatever, you got comfortable with them, and it became fun,
No transferring back then.
No.
Not a lot. Not like you see it today.
A lot of loyalty back then.
Well, and the rivalries were fun.
And they were really fun.
Like, they met some. That was what separated you, kind of.
Yeah, and we were talking about that the other day, where, the loyalty, that part, but the rivalries were great, and you didn't know if, are we going to fight? we might fight.
They were real. That's what I was going to say. They were.
Us and Bullard was like, that was for real. Like, there may become a time where somebody gets hit and we might fight in right field. And that happened one year.
I think Donato. It happened with Donato. And
it happened with Goose, too.
Maybe it was Goose. Who's at third?
Donato my year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Donato. It was somebody at third. There was a play at third base, and I remember benches cleared. And I mean, my brother wasn't even there yet. He was like in junior high. But if you were a Bullard growing up, you didn't miss a Bullard Clovis game.
No.
You didn't.
No.
So I remember going to all those, and I remember the benches cleared. And I mean, you didn't want to fuck with Cody Nolan. You didn't want to fuck with Guzman. This guy's crazy as shit. Like, I mean, and Bullard was good, but they didn't have the crazy guys.
But Bullard, they had a couple crazy guys that you knew where, it might come down to blows, and it's not just, we might fight after the game, and it might be, hey, meet us here, and that was just normal. That was part of it. But nobody's going to pull out a gun or a knife back then. We fight with our fists and get it over with and move on.
Yeah, everybody walks away. Maybe bleeding a little bit
because we got to play the next game.
Yeah. Well, I think James actually referred to that one time. I don't know if it was on here talking to you guys about, there was teams that would travel to different tournaments, and you guys weren't really a team he could take. You guys were really good, but
I always I ask James about that all the time. How come you never took us to one of those upper deck things? He goes, Boomer, can you imagine if I took you guys? Like, you guys would have burned the hotel down or something, We'd have won the tournament, but you guys have probably been in jail. And he's probably spot on with that.
So that 98 team, I was just looking at some of the stuff today. Max Preps and I believe Cal High Sports ranked that team. It's been a while since they've done this, but they ranked it the 4th best team in high school, in California high school baseball history.
Really?
Yeah. 33-2 both years, but just 373 team batting average. Cody Nolan hit 417, and I think Chris was a sophomore in 98.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hit 463. Mm-hmm. You were 15-0 with what's it said is at .84 ERA.
Not bad.
15-0. And Steve Frazier 10-0 as a junior with a 1.25 ERA.
I tell these, anybody who asks the questions, it's easy to pitch now when your guys are going to score for you. And like after the second inning, it's already 7-0. I'm comfortable now on the mound, because I know my guys are going to hit. So, a lot of the.
I mean, you can say that, but the ERA says otherwise.
Yeah,
they didn't give up any runs.
We were good though, and they played D behind me, man.
Well, that was one thing. Another quote I read. James quoted that team as being one of the most defensively sound and smart teams he's ever had.
Yeah, I never, from Donato to Chris to Carson, even the first baseman, Brantley, or Darryl or Lee, whoever was there. I never saw anybody making any mistakes behind me. I can't really think of an error that they made. It was.
Can I ask, where did that start? Was that how you guys practiced?
Yeah, yeah. And James made sure of that, and there was always times for us to have fun, and believe me, we had a lot of fun, that group. But there was times where James would say, hey, we need to get some work done, And that drill, whatever we did for an hour or, hour plus we did it right. Because we knew if we didn't do it right, there's consequences for that. And we always wanted to be number one no matter what we did. Even if we're doing a little bunt game or whatever it was, we were competing, even if it was practice. And that's just how that was our mindset. And it came out in the game.
Did it ever come to maybe not blows, but blows in practice?
For sure. Always. Always. That would happen at least once a week. And I learned that when I was a sophomore up with the older guys in 96. If you're going to run your mouth, you better be able to back it up because they're not going to take it. And that's how Clovis was, though. It was, we grew up that way. You're gonna fight for everything that you want if you're gonna run your mouth. But there's always gonna be somebody there to give it to you.
We were just talking about this on the last one because it's still summer, but school's back, fall's starting, weightlifting, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then we were just encouraging the older kids, the seniors, the varsity guys, maybe not just seniors, but like this is where you start to mold that younger group into this is the program, this is the history, this is what matters, this is what we're playing for.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, and all of us coaching for a while and being around the game a long time, especially around here, it's different now.
You're very different.
You kind of talked about it a little bit, but how was it in like the fall times for you guys? It's easy to want more, demand more when it's baseball season.
Yes.
But when it's not, for an older guy to get on a youngster, how was that for you guys? I mean, you being a young kid on the varsity team.
The work ethic, and buddies and I talk about it all the time. The work ethic has changed. I give lessons throughout the week, and you never really see anybody doing the extra stuff. When we were playing, you had to wait in line to get in the cage at Clovis High. There was 10 people in line just to try to use the cage. Or there was somebody out throwing, there's somebody out running, there's somebody on the field taking ground balls, and the field was open, and you had the opportunity to go out there and get better. I just don't see it now. There's nobody out there wanting to do anything extra. And later on, of course, they want to complain. I'm not hitting. Well, you've had 4 months to get ready, but you haven't done anything. So it's kind of like, do you feel bad for them? I don't, because it's all there. Everything. You
have more access now.
Yeah, the facilities are there. You get all these strength coaches now. You can do that. These strength coaches now put those workouts strictly for baseball. They don't want to do it though.
Do you guys ever have or run into an issue? I remember Madera, and I don't know who the hitting guys were at the time, but I remember you were there with us, and you may see it now. Like, do you ever run into like kids going outside of what you do in high school to somebody else that's a conflicting philosophy that, because I didn't see that a lot when I was a kid. It was, your coaches were your guys.
They weren't really hitting coaches. Like,
right.
You kind of just went out and played the game like wiffle ball, or it was just like a game to us. We just played it.
Well, let me ask you this question. When you drive around the neighborhoods now, how many wiffle ball games do you see?
Zero.
Do you see any basketball games going on?
No.
See any street football?
No.
Nothing. They're all inside on their phones.
I mean, I drive by the old Little League park sometimes at work.
Is there anybody out there?
I don't really see anybody out there.
Nobody. It's too hot, Coach. It's raining. It's too hot. Well, it's hot for the other team too. It's just as hot for everybody else. But that part to me, that part drives me crazy because, like you said, they have all of these extra things that we never had. Special hitting instructors. They have all these gyms. They got meal plans. They got all this stuff that it's right there for them, and they choose not to do it. It's just, if we had that, it'd be, wow, I'm going to use it.
Well, we had less access to stuff, right?
Like
cell phones weren't really, you know what I mean?
Very true.
Internet was new. Like, you didn't have what a lot of the temptation or
you had a time you met up with your boys and played something because you couldn't talk to them on the phone or you were text them or tweet them.
You go to their house and knock on the door. Hey man, come out.
Yeah,
that was it. You don't call them. I mean, yeah, you call the landline,
right?
But if they didn't answer, you walked your ass over there and go say, "Hey man, come outside, dude. We still got light out here." Yeah. And you knew when to come home. It was when it got dark, you go home. And the only time you would go home really is to grab a sandwich, grab some water, and get your ass back outside and go play some more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny. And so what was that? I mean, that staff, so you had Coach Patrick.
Yeah.
GC,
Dick Selma.
Who else was there?
Joe Kemp.
Yep, Mr. Kemp, and was oh
and,
my God. When did Essien get there?
Essien was when I was a freshman. Essien just got hired as the JV coach. He was my first coach, and that was his first year. He was in his early 20s, and that guy told us a story, man, that had us like our mouth dropped. He walked out, and Loke, being a black guy, walked out and was talking about, I got shot. I lived in Compton or Watts or something like that, and no, he got stabbed. And he's telling us how he crawled all the way to the hospital, and he's on the ground on the grass, like army crawling, and we're all like a bunch of white dudes, like, what? This is our coach? You gotta be shitting me. And then later on, he's like, I was just messing around. I just wanted to get you guys. That never happened. But that made it loose for us. Like this dude's pretty cool. And he was, man. He was Loke's good guy.
I mean, I know there's got to be at least a dozen, if not more, stories. Coach Patrick.
Oh, we'd go on forever.
But maybe one or two appropriate ones if you want.
I don't know if we have any appropriate ones.
Even GC.
No, yeah, George. No, Chandler wasn't there yet.
No, wasn't there yet.
No, Chandler.
No, he was
wasn't
at
there
Clark.
Yet. Yeah, he was at Clark. We had. George was our 8th grade coach.
Okay.
At Clark.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember when we first got there, we just came that group. We just came back from the Little League World Series. Back then, it was the Babe Ruth World Series, and we had the regionals here at Bicentennial. We ended up beating Guam to go to the Babe Ruth World Series, which was held in Alachua, Florida. And we did that. We ended up getting like 3rd place or something. But our first meeting at Clark was George saying, "This isn't just so you know, this isn't Little League anymore. I wouldn't care what you guys did in the World Series." And we thought it was a pretty big deal, man. Because it never happened before. A bunch of guys from Clovis going, the first time ever, and probably the only time it's ever happened. And George's like, "No, not a big deal. This is junior high now."
He might remember like verbatim what he said.
Oh, for sure. And the funniest part, and we'll say this one because I like George a lot. George would have these Chico State sweats. Have you heard this story?
No.
And I'm kind of surprised Storm hasn't told this. These Chico State sweats, that's where George went to school. So they must have been 25 years old, right? And he'd squat down, and we're talking to him, and the seam there's a hole in it, right? And all you see is just GC's, just one of his nuts just hanging out while he's giving us a speech. And we're like, it's hard to focus, and we're all laughing. What's so funny? Dude, you got one of your nuts? Like, coach, you know what I mean? And he wore those sweats like every day. Yeah, I'll never forget that. I'm surprised Storm hasn't said anything about that.
No. He probably doesn't even know about it.
No, you're probably, because Storm was, what was he, like 2 or something?
Maybe.
2 or 3 years old.
He still has those sweats. I'll have to text him.
You got to ask him about those sweats. I bet he still has them.
Anything with James in particular?
He probably hasn't even washed them yet either.
Both nuts can come out now.
For sure. Because they're small. There's a small hole. No, James. James is probably by far the best coach. Even all my pro days, best coach by far. I played for some good guys and big league guys, ex-big league guys, but James had a way of getting to you and motivating you, man. At the same time, getting on you and raising you up at the same time. He would get on you, but then explain to you what you did wrong and here's what we got to do. You never got to a point where, at least I never did, where I didn't like the guy because I knew he's just trying to get me better. He's trying to just get a rise out of me, and then, and I respect him a lot. I owe a lot to him, George, and Joe, and Dick. I miss Dick a lot because a lot of what I did was because of them, for sure.
Yeah, they all made a big impact around here. I'm sure you're not the only one that shares that.
I think that's a common thing with Coach Patrick's teams is like, even if it's a team that's not as talented,
oh, for sure,
they're going to find the will to win for him because of just the type of coach he was.
Well, think about that, man. He made that impact and connection up until the day he decided to walk away.
100%.
And walked out a winner.
100%.
So you're
Because
talking about
that team
30,
shouldn't have won.
30 years.
That year yeah, is that what we're talking about?
19, yeah.
Yeah, they had no business winning it.
No.
And I'll tell you what, to me, what made that happen, what turned the corner was we were at their place and there was a bad call and James came out and argued it. And he came and he got thrown out, and they were down, I think by 2. He came out, got thrown out, argued it, came back, argued it again after he's been thrown out. And the boys were like, they responded. My coach has my back. If he's going to do that for us, the least we can do is score a couple runs. And they went on a run and ended up winning it.
Yeah.
And good for them. That right there showed me some loyalty right there, some school pride that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and you talk about that team in 98. I mentioned Woody's team to you at Madera in 04. 3 guys on that draft class in 98.
Yeah. Myself, Cody, and Donato. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cody with the Rangers.
And then Carson White out of
Later
Cal.
on. Yeah.
And who was the other one? Then CP.
And then Chris.
Out of Fresno State.
Right.
So 5 guys on that team get drafted and play professional baseball.
I got traded to the Rockies. I don't know what year that was, maybe 04. And I get to the hotel, and I didn't even know Carson got drafted. Maybe I did, but I didn't even think about finding Carson because I knew I'd see him at camp eventually. But I get to the hotel, and I'm checking in, and I said, do I have a roommate? He goes, yeah, he's already up there. I get up there, and who do you think it is? It's Carson sitting there. I go, you got to be shitting me. The one roommate, I mean, I guess it's good. I mean, you're comfortable now. You got the dude you've known for 30 years sitting there with you. But, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Looking at that draft class, I was telling Chad, there was the Dogs had a couple guys. That was Jeff Weaver got drafted that year. Who was the other one? I forget who the other one. A couple of guys were. But even around here, I saw Braun at Edison was drafted. He didn't sign.
He went to Wake Forest, right?
Yeah.
Him and Asahina.
And then a couple Bakersfield, 4 Bakersfield guys.
Osborne
got drafted. I didn't get there. I didn't.
Yeah,
I had it written down.
There was just a lot more drafted from our area.
I'm just thinking about that time in the Valley. It's like that's a lot of draft picks.
Yeah.
Like there's a you just don't see that often.
No, and these are all guys we played against.
Let alone 3 guys on one team in 1 year.
Yeah.
And then 5 total from one team. That's pretty impressive. Like you just don't. I don't even know if Buchanan's done that.
I don't know.
Like that's impressive. That's just how good that team was, basically.
Yeah. We were good. We were good.
So
that was a fun time.
Thinking about that though, were there other options for you other than getting drafted? Like what schools were you?
I had all kinds of schools, but the hard part was I didn't have the grades. So it was I get letters from Florida, from Miami, from all over these places, and I look at it like, man, I can't do this. I don't have the grades. And it was so. I didn't really want to go to school anyway. I wasn't really a school guy. School wasn't for me. I didn't like it that much, and James can contest to that for sure. James helped me a lot at school. Him and Joe, but yeah, it was tough because I wasn't a school guy. I was going to sign no matter what. If they'd have gave me, a bag of candy and a plane ticket, I would have gone. Them not knowing that, but I held out as long as I could. But I was going to sign no matter what.
Nah, I get that. I've seen guys. I've had this conversation recently with a guy that was like, he's gonna take what he had to take,
right?
Because school wasn't gonna be an option.
If I did it all over again, though, I'd go to school for sure.
Why do you say that now?
Because I didn't really pay attention to really anything in school, man, and it was all baseball for me.
You just didn't apply.
No, and in my senior year was about the only time where I actually sat down and was like, this is really not that tough. I could have done this if I would have just done this 3 years earlier, but I just didn't care. All I thought about was 7 o'clock, I'm on the mound. That's all I really thought about. And being young, and I remember counselors telling me, don't you want to go to college? I said, no, I'm going to be a pro baseball player. How do you know that? I just, no, man. That's been my dream. I'm going to do whatever I can. But, and luckily it worked out. It could have been total other way. I could have got hurt, but, as much as I played, and I definitely am appreciative of what I got to do. And I don't take it for granted at all.
I guess knowing what you know too, with how you were at the time in high school, like what were the odds that if you did go D1 or wherever, you stayed in school.
There you go.
Like, do you not get drafted at some point if you went to college either? You know, it could be the other way around.
Very true. And I honestly don't think I would have stayed in school because I wanted to make some money. I probably would have just jumped on, I don't know, anything, a construction crew, because there's no way, knowing me, I could have sat in a class all day. I just can't do it.
Knowing you got to wait 3 years before I'm eligible to do this again.
And even now, I've never had a job to where I've been in office.
Like JUCO was never a thought in your brain?
It was for a little bit, but I just thought, again, there's more I could do. I don't think I want to waste my time at JUCO. I'd rather go D1. That's where I belonged.
Well, if they want you now,
in my mind, that's where I thought.
Yeah.
Maybe I was wrong.
Well, you got 10 years out of professional baseball. I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it worked out. It worked out. Luckily, it worked out.
What was I'm the other way. I went to school, and I think I should have signed when I should have.
And you played right there where I played. You were at Oral Roberts.
Yeah, you were. I saw that. He was in Tulsa for a couple seasons.
But you weren't there. You weren't there anymore.
No,
when I was there, because you were already with the Reds.
But we were talking about it because we were talking about the places we went.
Yeah, I was already in because I was at City for 04-05.
Right.
I mean, I guess playing professionally and like playing where you played and traveling how you probably got a little bit of that as a youngster, that college experience, I guess, or the living the life of a on the road, or
you're
kind
living
of
the
doing
life
what you
of a
want.
19-year-old.
Yeah, like you're without the school.
Without the school.
Very true. Very true.
I mean, you just didn't do the school part. You got to do the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And play baseball.
Yeah.
And I just think and that's what we talk about, like with some of these kids everybody's committed now. They want to be committed. Well, if your end goal is to play professional baseball, why wait? Why not take that? Or sometimes it is better to take the JUCO route to get there sooner if you're not a school guy.
True.
If you're not going to get drafted your senior year, you have a good chance of going your freshman or sophomore year.
Right.
But I feel like you made the right decision because you wanted to be a professional baseball player or a big leaguer, and your best chance of doing that was, what you did.
Right.
And, you didn't become a big leaguer, but a lot of us could have done things. Like I look at the other way. You played 1 or 2 years in the pro ball, and if I signed out of JUCO, maybe I would have got 5 or 10, 6 years in or something.
True.
I don't know. It's just
we all have our talents, man. There's a lot of things that I don't know how to do. A lot. Like I don't know how to fix cars. I take it in, it's just somebody else can fix it. I don't know shit about it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to fake it. But there's things where baseball. I'm more comfortable standing on a baseball field or on the mound than I am sitting on my couch because I know what to do on the field. And I know how to act. It's different. You put me in like this situation right now. Like I'm a little nervous. Like I honestly, maybe you guys can't tell, but this isn't me, man. This is not. You put me like feel like I'm locked up in here in this room right now. Like I almost like later on, you guys are gonna beat me.
Well, we have you on again. We'll have to go out to Clovis on the mound.
It's stones in here, so we can't really hear anything. You guys might just beat my ass here pretty soon.
No.
What? How much of an adjustment was it from high school right into professional baseball? Because now you're dealing with not just high school kids, and I'm looking at Pittsburgh's draft, just Pittsburgh alone that year. There was a lot of high school picks from just Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
that they drafted. They picked a lot of high school dudes. But just now you're dealing with international talent, college talent, and some high school players. Like, what was that adjustment like?
It was a big reality check. You coming from Clovis, being the big dude around here, and then getting there, and there's 100.
You're 15-0 and
100 badasses,
sub 1 ERAs, and
and you look around like, and everybody's big, everybody's Chad size. I'm like, I'm a midget out here, But it made you work harder. To me, it was always, that guy's 6'5", but maybe I can work harder. Maybe I can do this a little bit more. Maybe I'm a little faster or whatever. You try to stand out in different ways, and it was a point where, you get there and you're like, is this even for me? Because you're first time away from home, doing stuff on your own. You're doing your own laundry. You're going, if you need something, you got to do it on your own. It was a big, here I am. Like, I guess I'm in the real world, but you're playing pro ball at the same time. I called my dad going, I don't know, man. This is tough. And he's like, you'll be all right. My first paycheck, this is why I called him. My first paycheck was $162 in rookie ball. And I was like, Dad, how am I supposed to make a living off of this? And you get your contract and it said like $850 or something a month, but we didn't realize you get that taken out of your check for room and board, food, all that kind of stuff. So $162, I didn't have a car there. I'm like, I can't do this. There's no way I'm going to make it. But that also drove me, well, I got to get my ass out of rookie ball, make more money. So that's what I did, you know? But it was a huge reality check. Huge.
Do you have any big league moments with like guys in spring training, and did anybody try to take you under their wing?
Yeah. I'm trying to, with each team, there was like with Detroit, Jamie Walker, left-handed guy, and that's when I got a big league Rule 5'd, and he called it scholarship, and he made it known because basically I get big league Rule 5'd. All these other guys are trying to earn their spot. I'm basically guaranteed already because I'm big league Rule 5, and he called me scholarship boy, and his locker was right next to mine, and he would always but at the same time, him being a dick, it was him being a veteran letting me know, like, here's what you got to do, here's what you don't say. And, you know, the best things he told me media-wise was, if the media ever comes to you and wants to interview in the locker room, here's what you tell them. That's that way you don't get in trouble. He said, tell them this: I'm happy to be here. I'm going to do whatever I can to stay, and my teammates are great, and I'm going to do whatever I can to stay as long as I can. Because that way the media can never turn it around on you. If you say something stupid like, well, if that dude would have made a play and on second, we probably would have won the game, then your teammates hate you. So always just, you know, and then I would say that, and then they would leave me alone. I never have to deal with the media.
You're
again,
boring.
Because they're
right?
like,
yeah, you're not going to get the scoop. Yeah.
He keeps saying the same shit over and over again. You know what I mean? Who told him that? He said the same shit 5 times in a row. I'm like, well, now you guys don't even bother me, you know?
Was, you know, I was going to ask you too, was the two-way, like, was pitching that what you were going to do? That you didn't just pitch in high school?
You know, I didn't want to pitch. I wanted to play the outfield, honestly. I thought I was a better outfielder and I could hit. And all pitchers think they can hit. And you get to
I'll say this because I saw it. This dude could rake. Like, this guy could hit.
I mean, the team's 373.
People don't believe that, though, you know? And like the players now, or lessons, did you hit? I'm like, yeah, I used to hit in high school. But
oh yeah,
all they think is
high school.
Well, you're a pro guy, but you said high school.
Yeah.
So well, I did bat cleanup on the #1 team in the country, and I could hit. No, really, I could hit. They don't believe you though, because you were a pitcher. Your baseball card says pitcher, or whatever they look up says pitcher. It doesn't say hitter, so they don't believe you.
You do have a batting average though.
Good thing Chad backed me up though.
Baseball player, right?
Yeah,
not just a pitcher, not just a hitter.
Well, in your 2 hits, you had a double with the RBI.
Right.
Scored a run.
In pro ball?
Yeah.
That's only because I begged the catcher. I'm up there with like a 34-inch bat that's way too heavy. I'm choking up, and I have somebody else's helmet on because I wasn't ready to hit. They're like, Boomer, grab a bat. And being a reliever, you don't hit. They're like, and we were losing by like 10 or something. I'm like, so I get up to the bat, and I said, get in the batter's box and I say, hey, dude, I haven't seen a fastball in like 10 years. Can you just give me a fastball down the middle? And this guy's throwing hard. I'm like, why don't I just time it out? I'll be okay. All right, I'll give you a fastball down the middle. I'm like, yes, and boom, right away. And he saw me later out that night. He goes, you could hit, huh? I go, yeah, I can hit a little bit. He goes, you owe me a beer, so I bought him a beer.
It's the least you could do.
Yeah.
Put you in the stat book.
Yeah.
Was there any guys you had certain success against? You remember
that got to the big league?
Maybe they got to the show.
I had a lot of success against Carlos Pena. He's not playing anymore, is he?
I don't believe
he's an analyst now.
Is he?
But yeah, he's the Blackata. He says that.
I would come in like spring training. I'd come in to face Howard, and I came in to face Bonds and Giambi, guys like that. Because later in my career, I was lefty guy. So then that's part of the reason why I pitched so long. Because I'd come in and face one guy. I might throw 4 pitches, and my day's over. I could throw the next day. So my arm never really got beat up. So Adrian Gonzalez, I used to get him out all the time because he was with the Rangers. We played in this. It seemed like we played in the same league every year in the minors. Everywhere we go, Adrian would be there. I'd come out to face him. Yeah, but spring training, it was always lefty guys. Giambi, guys like that. Yeah.
Was there ever a point you thought like you were gonna go? Was there discussions that you had or?
Yeah, when in 04, when I got Big League Rule 5, they told me I made the team. And I had my bags packed. My bags were already sent to Toronto. We were opening up in Toronto. And the next day we go to Winter Haven and play the Indians. I don't pitch because I threw the day before. And after the game, I see the GM and Trammell. All the guys are in the office. When Trammell was the manager of the Tigers, and he called me in the office. I said, "What's going on, man?" He said, "Well, we made a trade last night for Steve Collier from the Dodgers, and you cleared waivers, and we're sending you back to Colorado. Colorado just bought your contract back." I said, "You just told me I made the team last night." "Yeah, well, it wasn't my decision, blah blah blah," and that's how it went down, man. I wanted to do the Rick Vaughn, throw that fucking desk on him, man.
I was gonna say, well, how do you? Pissed. I mean, but you can't because you just ruined the next opportunity.
Yeah, because I'm still in the game. I'm going to AAA. Maybe I can do it there. But you have so much emotion because And that night I called everybody. Hey, I made the big league team. I'm in the big leagues. We're opening up in Toronto. And I'm on cloud 9. Then you go from cloud 9 to, damn, my dreams are gone again. Now I gotta start over. So it was tough, man. That was a tough day for sure. And then I get back. We're in Winter Haven. I get back to Lakeland. I'm going over to pack my bags. The guy that I got traded for is already there. He's packing it. He's unpacking his stuff in the locker right next to me. He has no idea who I am.
Yeah, I
knew who he was because he had his Dodger bag, right? And I wanted to punch him, like, and it's not his fault.
No.
I'm packing all my stuff. And then he realized as I'm packing my stuff, as he's unloading his, I was the guy, and then he was the guy.
Took your fucking job.
And he shook my hand and was like, "Hey man, I wish you the best." And I told him the same thing because it's not his fault. But that was a rough day, boy. Rough day. You go on, because everything in your head like, I'm gonna buy a brand new truck. I'm gonna do this and that. I'm gonna, and then I'm gonna keep driving a Honda Accord, I guess.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. But another side of
that's
showing you it's a fucking business.
Absolutely.
Like it's cutthroat.
Absolutely. You go in AAA, and you see guys that have big league time, and you see guys pass you up. Like you have a great ERA, and this guy's got a 5. And you're doing better than this guy, but this guy's uncle was Uncle so-and-so, and he gets called up, and you're like, well, there's the politics side of that part, of the game. And
yeah, I've heard a lot of that before.
That part's tough too, and, Labby can tell you all about that too. I'm sure he said it. And it's tough to take, man, because you're just as good, if not better than that guy, but he got a shot because of, maybe he already has some time or, his
agent invested in him.
You're right. Or his agent so-and-so, and it's tough. It's tough, but that's the business side part of it.
Did you get to walk away on your own decision?
Yeah, I always told myself I'm not gonna play anymore. And once it started to become a job, and at the end of my career, I started not to like going to the park. I started hating the bus rides. I started not liking getting up at 5 to catch that flight, and then as my kids got older, they could call me on the phone and say, "Hey, Dad, are you coming to this?" And that part got tough. When they were younger, they didn't really understand because they didn't know what was going on. That part was easy. But when they started to be able to write me letters, and I'm missing birthdays, I'm missing baseball games, t-ball games, I was like, you know what? I can get another job, but I'm not going to miss my kids' stuff anymore.
Yeah, you don't get those back.
And it wasn't because I was hurt or nothing. I was still healthy. I could have played for another 5 years, and I wanted to, but it wasn't worth it to me to miss my kid stuff. It just wasn't at all.
They're no longer about you anymore.
No, absolutely not.
So it's a pretty easy decision, it sounds like.
It was, but you still think about it. And my wife now asks me all the time, do you miss it? And you do. But the one thing I miss the most is being around the guys. Not actually throwing. It's being around the guys, bullshitting, making fun of this dude, or and having fun at dinner and playing pranks on each other. That part you miss, and the grind though of every day playing in some sweat box in the damn shower's not working. You got some smelly ass towel, and that shit you don't miss.
Playing in Tulsa?
No, that
Tulsa
place
was nice, man. Come on.
Yeah,
No, Tulsa's fun.
Chad got the good part of Tulsa.
Yeah.
I got the Driller Stadium where it was. Oh man, it's new now, but what I remember about Driller Stadium, the bathroom was all the way up top in the clubhouse, so none of us would want to walk our lazy asses up there, right? So we just piss in the tunnel right there. So you imagine what that tunnel smelled like after 5 months of peeing in there for all summer. Dude, it was the raunchiest shit ever, man.
I would have told him that once. Hey, rinse it out a little bit here.
We told our clubby, like, dude, can you run some water on this thing? He's like, no, that's your guys' fault. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Don't you pay those guys?
Yeah, your clubby tip's gonna be a little light.
Yeah.
I just know that Tulsa, is a little brutal. I was there in the summertime. It was only a week, so I don't know a full season what that would be like there, but it was just that week of July was brutal.
Yeah, it's hot, man. I've been in some hot places. Wichita was hot. I remember
Especially on the old turf.
I remember the guys coming in, just like you said, the guys wore those plastics, and on the turf they'd come in and go, look at Mike's speed.
They'd melt.
They'd melt. I've never seen that before.
No, it was like
entire
120
life.
on the ground.
I've never seen that. I said, you gotta be shitting me. Wow. Yeah, I've never seen cleats melt before.
You were in Visalia for a hot minute too, right?
Yeah, I got sent down to Visalia. I was there for like 2 weeks. That was being sent down sucked, but that was fun, man, because everybody was at the game. I'd ask everybody, hey, are you using your tickets? I had like 80 people on the pass list because I had everybody from around here going. They finally get to see me play. Hey, are you playing in Visalia? Yeah. So, and I got to commute back and forth. I drive home every night while the guys were going to their apartments or whatever. I got to go home to my hometown. Yeah, that part was cool.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. Well, I mean, you've been coaching for a while now.
Yeah.
So you're still involved, like through your experience, right? High school player, kids that want to move on and continue to play at that level, be a professional, maybe not just a college player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are the conversations you have with your team? I mean, you're at Clovis North, right?
Right.
So what are those conversations? And I'm sure the kids ask you, and what advice do you give? I mean, I don't know how many young kids listen. There's a good amount, but it doesn't matter where you go to school. Good advice is good advice.
More than you think. Don't listen. And I haven't really got that question really. None of
that kind of blows me away.
No, I'll answer this.
And Chad will tell you why right now.
This is why. They don't know who he is.
And they don't care, Chad.
No, they don't know. They don't know who Asahina is. They don't know who the guys that came before. They probably don't even know who Ricky Manny is, except that he might have played football. They don't realize that he had the stolen base record in the section for however many years.
Right,
Norcross.
They don't know who these guys are because they don't care to learn about the history, not only of their school they go to, but the history of how good high school baseball was here.
Yes,
since the early '90s.
Very true.
Even the late '80s when Bullard was the powerhouse. So it's just that's why they probably don't ask him, because they don't know that. They just think it's Coach Bumatay. He's our pitching coach.
Right.
He's a lefty. They don't realize he's one of the best high school players to ever come out of our section.
It's Treston's dad. They don't know.
No.
And that's where 10-year professional career.
And that's where that's why we do this, is we're trying to, people didn't know how good Jason Donald was. To me, he's the best player I ever played with. And I put him as a top 5 in our section, but I played with him. I got to see these guys play. I never played against them, but I got to see Jason's work ethic and what he put into it. So that's why I put him as on a pedestal as a top 5 player in our area. But that's why these kids, they don't care. They don't need to know. All they care about is, dude, how's my eye black going to look down my face?
Yeah.
I'm going to put my glasses on my hat when the sun's there and I'm not going to wear them.
Or when the sun's not there. Why are your sunglasses
it's a night game.
on?
Night game.
The sun's behind you. Why do you have your, that part? Yeah. Chad's right, though.
But they don't care.
No, they don't. They could care less.
You've never gotten those any coach
maybe one time in the 6 years I've been there, and it was from Riley Cooper, who's now at LSU. He because Riley has a chance to go on and play pro ball, and he was the only one really that picked my brain about it and asked.
And he's a lefty pitcher.
He's a lefty, you know. And
he hit too.
Yeah, and we went over the routines before, stretching and arm program. Riley was really the only one that really kind of got into it and would ask, "Hey, what'd you do in these situations?" But like Chad said, they don't care, man. They don't. And at the same time, you're kind of you step back and go, "Wow, they don't care." It's they should, We have so much, and we have a pretty good staff. There's so much information that we can give these kids, and they don't want it.
Well, you got a staff that's been around, that's played a lot of baseball.
I mean, how many people do you think know Brandon Simon played professional baseball here in this town?
Not enough.
Not enough.
That he was one of the fastest guys in Diamondbacks organization.
I played against Brandon, and boy could fly, man. And they have no clue about that, though.
No,
none.
That's why I take it back to Fullerton. We had.
I mean, how many Madera kids know Nick Leach?
I mean,
they should. That was one of the best pure athlete, just overall baseball players I've ever seen. I remember watching batting practice, and our batting practice were impressive. Harp and I were talking about this the other day. The amount of home runs hit in batting practice, and Harp was out because his boy was getting a lesson from Labby, and Harp said, "How many home runs do you think between Madera and Clovis High? How many home runs do you think would happen in batting practice?" And I said, "I don't know, about 50." He goes, "I would say 70."
At Madera, probably a ton.
And we were doing it at the biggest part.
I would say Clovis is not a
you got to earn it.
Yeah.
There's no cheapies. There's no you get jammed and it's going out. You got to get every bit of it to get at Clovis High. So, and Harp is like, it's crazy. And I remember asking Carson. I called Carson because Carson knows stuff that we did like we're in second grade. Like shit. Like, well, why do you even know that, dude? Remember that time I got that beef jerky and slapped? I'm like, that was 40 years ago, dude. Well, how do you even remember that? So I knew I was like, I'm gonna call Carson. He'll know for sure. I said, Carson, how many do you think you hit? He goes, 100. I said, I don't know, that's probably too high, but and now, you know how many home runs you see during BP? How many you see, Chad?
Maybe 2.
Maybe
2.
Depends
right?
on who you're playing. Depends on I mean, Buchanan's guys can get them out, but like
it depends though.
Right.
I mean, Madera, no. We made sure we stuck to what we were trying to do because our guys can't hit them out.
Right. Yeah,
well, and then they like to say, "Oh, well, your bats were better." Our bats might have been better, but I guarantee you our baseball wasn't better.
Okay. Well,
the baseball is wound tighter now.
Then go back to Barry Bonds. Does steroids help you hit the ball, or does it just go farther?
I think it just goes farther.
Just goes farther. It doesn't help you hit them.
Yeah.
Doesn't make your eyesight any better. You still got to put the thing on the barrel.
Yeah.
So bats or not, good bats or not. But we're doing it at the biggest park.
You also mentioned something earlier too. Those velo was different back then too.
Very true.
Oh, you were facing guys.
Very true.
Everybody had a guy throwing 90.
And I was talking about like McLean.
Yeah.
They had Marquise. He's throwing 90.
From
every guy had it. Every guy had his
Edison. I mean,
Braun,
Billy, and Billy wasn't
coming up.
a pitcher really, but Billy threw freaking smoke.
Right.
Yeah.
And Braun would catch Johnny, right?
Yep.
And then Johnny would catch Braun.
Yep.
And if either one weren't pitched, Johnny played short, and Johnny was a hell of an athlete. I missed that guy.
He might be one of the best athletes
by far
that came out of this.
Well, Braun got to the big leagues with the Royals, right?
Yeah.
So that's when people don't know this stuff, and it's all out there to go. See.
When I was at Madera and they're like, Ryan Braun went here. Not that Ryan Braun. Right. See, that's the thing.
Yes.
They're like, oh, Ryan, no.
Well, I was going to say about Fullerton is Vanderhook, and I know it's Division I college baseball, and it's Fullerton, and the history there's. But you should have that kind of pride. He quizzes his guys.
Right.
The freshmen, they take a test on the history of Fullerton baseball. You're coming here, you need to know what you're coming into.
I like that.
And I don't know why more schools maybe don't. I know Andy's doing it. We do it at Madera. He'll have a 50 question quiz on just baseball, and then Madera. I don't know. I think it's a big deal. You should know what came before you.
Absolutely.
Why is this place considered such a powerhouse, or why was it what it was? Well,
that's part of the school pride and loyalty, isn't it?
You can't say the tradition here is what it is if you don't know what the tradition is.
Very true. Very true. And what came before you? What created
you don't get to just walk into it and claim it. Like, that would probably piss a guy like you off.
100%.
So when guys would walk into Madera and just claim I'm a Coyote, no, you're not a Coyote.
You gotta earn that shit.
Not yet, bro. You don't get to just walk out here and disrespect it.
We're not just handing out jerseys.
No, and that's how different
until you know
now.
more about it than I do.
Very
then
true.
you can call yourself a Coyote.
And that's how different it is now, though. Like, the older guys now, I mean, back then, wouldn't put up with that shit.
No.
A freshman runner come in running his mouth saying this and that, we're going to hit him right away.
We said that last time. I was a freshman. My brother was a senior, but I still didn't talk.
Right.
I knew my place. Mm-hmm. Who was I to? I didn't earn the right to even step on a varsity field yet.
But you had to earn it.
And we weren't allowed to practice on it. We were freshmen. Only the varsity team practiced on the varsity field.
There you go.
Only the varsity team had non-snapback hats. You know what I mean? You guys had that back then too.
Very
Clovis
true.
had snapbacks in the younger levels. It's like that was earned, and now it's like freshmen, seniors are buddy. It's like, hold up, dude. I'm not saying you got to talk, shit to them or whatever, but you got to be put in your place a little bit.
Absolutely.
Even CP, you played with him. I bet he didn't talk much until he earned it.
CP didn't say anything, even after him doing all that he did.
And earning your guys is like, he's a dog. This guy's.
And you know what? And James never really added anything onto it and said, "This is my boy." Nothing. He just let Chris do his thing, and Chris never spoke up. He just played, man, and his play spoke for himself. All of that, and we had to give it respect.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have a choice at that point.
You didn't have a choice, and you were like, "Hey, this guy can play." So and we didn't really say anything back to him. He didn't have to say anything. He just did it, and we just kept winning, man.
But see, we talk like this. It always sounds like we're shitting on the kids. To me, it's important. I think it matters to know.
We're not. We're just trying to let them know how it was before.
And it's not that you need to know who Mike Bumatay
No,
was.
it's not about that.
No, but if you go to Clovis High, you should.
You better.
That's what I'm saying. I don't care if you go to Buchanan. I don't need to know Mike.
Do they know?
I went to Bullard. Fuck Mike Bumatay.
Pick up a fucking school program.
But I should probably know who Phillips, Casey Rowe. I should know Rex Hudler.
Yes.
I should know Lance Sheblet.
Right.
I need to know all these guys that came before me at Bullard that laid this foundation to be the tradition that Bullard is.
Right.
I mean, some of these Bullard guys, they know Mike
Johnson.
Noakes now, but they probably didn't when Mike Noakes was just coaching at City.
Very true.
Yeah, Bullard's a long list.
And Bullard, they're solid. They're gonna be the next something in my mind.
I'm telling you, I think they're not being talked about for next year. They're gonna be pretty good next year.
They're gonna be good.
Don't overlook Bullard.
And it's coming.
And maybe because they're not in the track. Maybe that's why it is.
It's coming around again. It's the 80s and 90s coming around again.
But I don't want it to sound like we're shitting on kids or you should know who I was. I don't care about that.
No.
I mean, I
go
can
look
name
at the history.
I'll name off Buchanan guys. I'll name off Clovis West guys. You know what I mean? I didn't even go to those schools, but I grew up in a time where I went and watched high school baseball games, like Bullard Clovis, even Bullard Clovis West, because Clovis West was another good school back then. Like those were we went to Fresno State games Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, but the Tuesday and then the Friday games, or maybe we missed the Fresno State game, we were at a high school game.
Yeah.
Like if we grew up in that area, we were watching our high school team because
but you wanted to
that
watch
was our big leagues to us. Like I wanted to play for Mike Noakes. Those guys were my big leaguers.
Right.
The Bullard varsity team.
Yeah. Absolutely. But you wanted to go to those games. It wasn't you were dragged there.
No.
You were excited to go.
No.
You want to be a part of that because that's what you wanted to be later on.
Yeah.
I want to be like that guy. I want to be like the Hudler. I want to be like Chris Falco or whoever it was. You know what I mean? You wanted to be that guy. So, James actually gave me pitching lessons when I was like 8 or 9 years old. And I had no idea who James was until my dad told me about it, and I think I still have that VHS of James showing me hold the barrel for the curveball and all that kind of stuff. And I use that now in my lessons. Hold the barrel, make sure you're putting your arm the right way and all that kind of stuff. So that part, learning the baseball game the right way. And I think we're lucky. Chad for sure had his dad's awesome and he's a big baseball guy. He got to learn it the right way, and you're kind of jealous of that kind of. My dad knew the game too. And if you had a buddy whose dad played or knew the game, that was something that was big deal. Like those Babe Ruth World Series games, like Mike Gutierrez, he played in the big leagues. My dad played in college, and then we had a couple other guys Carson's dad who played. So we had 4 or 5 guys that knew the game coaching us. And now anybody's coaching now. You know that, Chad. Mm-hmm. You got guys out there get a certificate and all of a sudden I'm a coach now and I know how to teach hitting now. Really all they're doing is ruining those kids. Creating those bad habits,
You said it.
Do you? Well, we can just go into it. Just the game today. How do you feel about how the game's approached today? Whether on the mound or I mean, you don't have any starting pitchers that can usually get through the 6th. It's not about going deep into games anymore.
High school wise?
I mean, well, high school maybe. If you got a guy, yes. But I mean, even the last couple of years I coached at Madera, like we didn't want to burn guys out, so we get us to the 5th or whatever, and we figure it out. But even at the big league level, like,
right.
Well, I think the mentality's not there.
Well, yeah, that's what
you weren't taking him out because he wasn't going to let you take him out. No. You weren't taking Underwood out because he wasn't going to let you take him out. Even me, I was actually a pretty decent high school pitcher. For people that don't know, you weren't taking me out of the game.
Right.
Like I'm the starting pitcher. I'm throwing all 6.
Well, there was a time.
Like that's just the way it was,
and that mindset you had from the get go.
Right. Well, it was like,
but I don't think they have the mindset anymore.
This guy's going 7 innings tonight.
Oh, my arm feels a little tired. I didn't give a shit if my arm felt tired. No, I'm going to try to strike these guys out.
Absolutely. And you didn't, and there, and I think that's part of it too. You get these guys want to strike everybody out. Outs are outs. Ground ball, fly out. No matter how you get it, no matter how you get it. Take the out. Strikeouts are a bonus. If you're a guy that happens to throw in the 90s and you got the velocity to get it done, yeah, your strikeouts are going to be up there. But if you don't, if you're a finesse guy, get your outs how you get them. Just get outs. I try to tell my guys all the time, if you hit your spots, that 84 or 85 is just as effective as 95 if you put it in the right spot. But you can't go out, 8 pitches in a row, and then this guy's going to get comfortable. You got to be able to throw in too. You got to be able to go up and down. You got to be able to show him that you can throw this ball wherever you want. Because if not, he's going to get comfortable, and it's going to be 4-0 before you know. Because all you've done anymore. Is throw the ball on the outer half.
Yeah, it's going to be his plate at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, even just with the, we mentioned 2-strike approach a little bit last week. We've done it a lot on here. It's just a different game. It's just not played. There's a lot of fundamental stuff that just doesn't seem to matter anymore.
No.
I mean, that's just what I've seen. I don't know why.
It's more selfishness now. Back in the day, we talk about that. Guys moving guys over on their own. Doesn't have to be a bunt. You can still hit a ground ball to the right side and get a guy over. But, these guys these days are trying to hit homers
that they can't hit.
Yes, exactly right. Why are you trying to drive a ball when you haven't drove a ball all year? Why don't you just be a team player and put the ball to the right side or lay a bunt down so we can get those guys in scoring position and maybe score a run? Because, these track games, there's not many runs scored, man. They're pretty low-scoring games, So it's the selfishness part, has gotten to a level to where, it's totally different. Totally different.
It's hard to coach.
You can't coach how you want to. Can't coach how you used to be able to. How we were coached. Guys getting in people's faces. Can't do that now. Guys are going to get butthurt. Or they're going to sue you.
Yeah.
Or they're going to, there's going to be some kind of.
Well, what's the right, like, it become to ask the question as a coach, what's the right way to hold a kid accountable?
I don't even know if there's a right answer to that.
Or is holding them accountable just crossing the line now?
How do you do it, though? Chad?
I mean, you can't say you're going to condition it. I mean,
no.
Do you remember not conditioning? I remember running the hell out of my entire career of baseball. Like, I feel like conditioning now in high school is like, I mean, it was always a punishment, but I mean, I feel like if you run, it's like something really bad happened.
Very true.
Like, we ran every day.
But it was part of it, though.
Yeah.
Right?
It was on the practice plan.
It was on the practice plan. Now it's like we barely
knew
run.
By 5:15, oh, shit, here it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's starting to stretch out again.
Get some water in you.
Everybody's trying to mosey their asses down in the foul pole like, oh, here we go. But that was part of it.
Yeah.
And if we did something wrong or we knew, we made 4 errors the day before, we got an extra 10 pulls to do. And that was part of it. And you know what? We should run those polls. Should have made 4 routine errors. Nobody complained, though.
Yeah.
Did anybody complain? No. And if somebody did, if it was a younger guy that complained, the senior would say, dude, shut up. You know what I mean? You don't even play.
In a nice way.
Right.
There would be times that we'd have to do that. And I mean, I was usually the slower guy in the back, everybody getting mad about because you got to make time.
I was too, though.
You know what I mean? You're not making time. You're running another pole. And, dude, at some point, somebody would fall back and push me.
There you go.
Like, so it wasn't just to run.
No, it was to bring your team together.
It wasn't just we're going to run the shit out of you guys just because. You don't have to make a time just because.
No, just get it done. Just
get
it done. But you said that right. There's always somebody to pick you up, though, right? And say, hey, come on, let's get it going. Or you can do this. Now, no. We didn't even run, really.
You'll see dudes throwing fits, though, too. If you know what I mean? We got to do it again.
Right.
I mean, the worst, I think the worst I've seen is like, I know Andy's not afraid to let the guys have it out at Madeira, but Wallenbacks, I'll see Wallenbacks just kill dudes. I'm like, this ain't shit.
No.
Go run you some 70s, bro.
There you go.
You'll be puking up all day.
Some up downs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing where we talk about travel ball and like all these hitting coaches and pitching coaches, and these kids have so many people telling them what to do that I don't think that the varsity, the high school coach is on the top of that list anymore.
I agree.
Like, yeah, he's just my high school coach. I think that's where it's at. He's just a high school coach.
And listen,
because I've seen the jump even from high school coach, the respect difference that I got there and then at City. Because now I'm a college coach, so I gain a little bit more respect from my players, but I also have players that want to get on to the next level.
And listen, not all, I don't want it to sound like all dudes that do lessons out there are one and the same. There are some really good people, especially around here, that provide hitting and pitching and defense, all that stuff.
Right.
But there are those. There's like,
a lot of bad.
There's more bad than good.
And you probably know more than I don't know. I'm not in that game.
If you go out to a field and see somebody in the cage or working on a mound at the field, those are the good ones.
There you go.
If you go to a facility, not all facilities, because there are some that do it the right way, but if you go to a facility with all the gadgets lit up and you're all you're doing is hitting off a machine or front toss and there's no talking and you're just looking at your stuff, those are the bad ones.
Mm-hmm. And those ones are, now that they have all those contraptions, those are easy for those lesson people to sell more, because that's what we live in these days. These kids want to see
what other
electronic stuff.
There's no other place for them to go get those measurables. Like if you're just going out and hitting at Clovis North in the cages, I can't measure my exit velo unless you got.
Well, that's the problem.
That doesn't matter.
I agree with you.
How did that feel?
But we talked
that felt
about,
really good.
But we talked about.
I don't need to tell you what your exit velo is.
But we talked about that's what's cool.
I know.
Does Labby ever talk about exit velo?
No.
And he's a pro scout, right?
Yeah.
There we go. Exit velo means nothing. You hit the ball in the gap. If you're a good enough ball player, they're going to find you, no matter what your exit velo is.
Well, and I think it's funny they measure it off a tee. You go to Perfect Game, you see these videos, and it's like, well, you're hitting it off a tee.
Right.
You're not hitting a pitched ball, and we're not measuring your exit velo off a. The ball's not moving.
Right.
And we're dating your exit velo, and we're writing it down, and we're saying that this is something on a pitch that literally a ball that doesn't move.
Right.
My mom could go hit off of it.
Exactly. I don't care what that number is. That number doesn't matter.
Very true. I want to see my exit velo off the tee off the golf club. It's probably like 45 at least. I golfed with Lab the other day. These guys are all good, and I'm just out there having fun, man, and just watching these because they play all the time, and they're just laughing at me. I'm hitting shit in the trees, and I don't even care. You gonna pick your ball up? No, I'm good.
That's when you go, you know what? You remember back in 90, I would strike your ass out. You guys couldn't hit shit.
That's all I got. Yeah, you're a great putter, but I'll strike you out. Yeah. Shut up, we're playing golf. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where it fixes or how you fix it or where it's.
I think it's gonna fix itself. I think
you're probably
when they say
right.
history repeats itself. I think when you get enough of the generation that we grew up with, having kids and growing up, and that still stick to those morals and values of how we were taught things, and understand how good technology is, but it's still not the end all be all. Like grinding and getting in the cage and like working one-on-one and hands-on. I think that, which is what we do, and I think that is better for kids. They'll learn more that way, and hopefully.
I always go back to Manzolino at Clovis High. Did this for like
Doug.
It was Doug and I think it was Sean Gilbert. They didn't let us hit on the field for like almost 8 weeks. Every Sunday for like an hour and a half, we were in the cage. That's it for like 6-7 weeks. And on the very last day, we got to go on the field. And I actually saw the difference at that point.
There you go.
And it wasn't because you put me on the field every day. I'm undisciplined. I'm trying to yank.
Absolutely.
I'm not working on something.
Mm-hmm.
But you put me in the cage for 7 weeks, and they had me dialed in. It's the best I'd ever hit going into the rest of my baseball playing days. And I always go back to that. Like, man, they got me to a position where it's like, oh, and we got on the field and we saw gap.
You had a plan in the cage. They gave you a plan. This is what we're working on, and that's what you did. Like you said, in the field, what are you going to try and do? You're going to try to hit homers.
When I used to get frustrated, like, Mom, I don't want to go today because I know we're not hitting on the field.
Right.
See, and
then when I finally saw the results of that work, I was like, That's why they did it.
It's the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
That get like pitchers. They want to be the boring. You need to be in the bullpen. You need to be doing your flat grounds. You need to be doing your towel work. You need to be doing all that boring shit. That's going to make you better when you get on the mound. Just like in the cages, you have to love the cage. You have to love the tee. If you can't hit a ball that's not moving where you want to, at least 10 out of 10 times, then your swing's not where it needs to be.
Right.
You can't go out on the field and try to hit home runs.
No. Yeah. And I'm sure Chad does the same thing. We tell our guys, trust this plan that we're trying to do right now. Trust what I'm doing, because later on it's going to pay off. I know this is boring,
but they don't want to wait.
You don't like it. No, but they want.
They want now. I want to see it now.
Absolutely, they want it right now. And mom and dad want it right now too, right? It's not it's not just the kids. They're they all want it now. But where were you 3 months ago? Or it's my one's. This one's my favorite. They got a tournament coming up this weekend. Can you get them dialed in? Where have you been the last 4 months? So you want me to get them dialed in 2 days?
Yeah.
For your tournament, but you could have been here. What have you done the last couple of months? I was well. You're not going to hit this weekend. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You know?
But no, I appreciate you doing this, man. It's
You got it.
like I said, I'll never forget my brother. Hey, we're gonna go watch this guy pitch, and being a kid and just thinking, oh, you don't, whatever.
Yeah.
Then you see so many people, and they're like, oh shit, this is big time baseball. So, but I appreciate you doing this, man.
You got it. Thanks for having me. Had a lot of fun.
That's another episode of the Hit or Die podcast.
Hit or die.